How's it going, everyone? PJ here from the Shuffle Squad, and we are going to be bringing you the top decks from San Antonio Regionals, which just happened, kind of going over some of the changes that were made, some of the players and their notable decks that they were able to play and place at this huge event. Now, mind you, this currently is the biggest North American regionals ever in the history of Pokemon TCG, so that was also very exciting to experience myself. Unfortunately, we did play the Fusion Mew list and just got sandbagged through day one, but it does happen. You know, we carry on, we move on to the next tournament, and that's how you should look at things too if you're going to be competing in the Pokemon TCG. But talking about the competitors that did make it today, let's take a look through these lists. Now, we won't start at the top. We're going to kind of start down near the top 16. So Sky Dela Cruz here did have the Rapid Strike list, and we do see Andrew Hedrick, both semi-notable players. I mean, Andrew definitely a notable player. Sky definitely coming up. Congrats to her on that finish. That is awesome. But it looks like DTE Mew for Andrew's deck. Now, I do want to look at this because I did think going into this event that DTE Mew was honestly a bad call last minute. We had been practicing DTE Mew for a while. We're going to take a look at Andrew's list. Now, not a lot of hand control. It's pretty much a straightforward list, and that's also how we were building our list. Actually, it looks almost identical to the list that the other Shuffle Squad members were about to play for this event. So not anything crazy here. The two feather balls, the second feather ball is honestly the flex spot that you could have cut here, but forward path is another spot where we were going to put some other tech into the list, but definitely looking kind of straightforward for a list, so not going to spend too much time on that one. We'll move on to some of the other decks. Now, we do see Andrew Ganner here at top 13. Unfortunately, we are going to skip over DJ's deck here because most likely the only tech that's different is just the Tropius and Minior. I do see the Galarian Moltres V, but Town Store. So this is similar to other lists we've covered in the past. But going on to Andrew Ganner's 13th place list, this is similar to what I was playing. Now, I did not play Lost Cities, but there are two Lost Cities in this list here. So that's really good against Gardevoir. It could be good against Charizard, but honestly, you're just taking the L to Charizard. With a list like this, we just did not want to take the L to Spiritomb. So that's why we do still have the Ice Cube here for the Block Slider attack, so you can just snipe off the Spiritomb, which actually didn't work in too many cases because a lot of decks are still playing Manaphy. So Block Slider unable to knock out Spiritomb with Manaphy in play as well. So that is pretty much similar to what I was playing. I think that we did cut Lost City. We put a Town Store in for one of them. And the second part of that list was going to be, I think, the third Forest Seal Stone. So we could just find the Forest Seal Stone a little bit. Or, I'm sorry, the second box of Disaster. That's what we placed in there instead of the Lost City. Otherwise, pretty straightforward list. Congrats to Andrew Ganner for making it that far. And then we do have Rain Kuma. Sorry for mispronouncing the last name. We're going to see here. There was the Draoxys, but we know that as Draoxys here in the Shuffle Squad. But the Deoxys and no Devo TM. I know that that was kind of the super secret tech for a lot of the Shuffle Squad members is the Devo TM going into this meta. Obviously, Guardy and also Charizard Devo TM is really good. And even the Rapid Strike, just as kind of a counter to the counter there, having Devo TM in. But we'll get to that in a little bit. You know, we'll cover Sky Dela Cruz's list in a second. We do see that we had 11th place Matt Bana with Miraidon, which nobody really thought was going to be that great. But this is the 18 energy build, pretty straightforward. It's got the 3 Peony. I do not believe in this deck. It's okay if you're a Miraidon player, but I honestly don't trust in a list like this. I know that we did see some from the LAIC meta come across here, but Mew EX, and the list is so linear, and I really have nothing great to say about the list. I've play tested it 1,000,001 times. It does have 2 hands, which is kind of cute, but that's about it. The 1/1 Flaffy line is super scary, especially if Lost City is going to be a card that we see a lot of these decks adapt to. Not only Mew, but also Charizard, including Lost City back there. And that is is something that I would not play. Now, we do have Liam Halliburton's list here, which I do want to take a look at really quickly and just see if it's pretty close. Yeah, it looks like it is pretty close. Okay, so we won't cover that just yet. We're going to look at Landon Katner's list, and we do see the Devo TM here. So we've got the 2 Karina's Focus. That's a notable card here, because if you do fall a little short, Karina's Focus can definitely pull you out of a bad spot. Low hand size is kind of the name of the game with a lot of this deck playing the Squawkabilly EX. The Professor's Turo is still really good here. 4 Battle VIP passes, also really good. And the Double Clara I found was really good. Only playing 5 water energies is a really, really tight list, but Clara can help you get out of those sticky situations where you do have to maybe research away one of the Pokemon early in the game and get it back. And then if something gets knocked out that you need, like a Spiritomb, just putting it right back, it definitely will help you in those Mew matchups. So we're going to go back and look at Sky Dela Cruz's list just to see if that was pretty much the same. And it looks like playing the old Remoraid in this list here, but pretty straightforward. With everything else. Do have the one of Arven in this list, so I do want to compare and contrast. Other than the Remoraids that you see in the 9th place list, what are we looking at here? So yeah, we're just playing the 2 Clara, the 2 Ionos, 2 Melanies, and 3 Research here for the supporter line, which I do think is a solid line. So that's a really solid list. If you do like Rapid Strike, I'd say start here and go from that. Now, moving into top 8, I did play Hail on round 1, and this deck is nasty. I'm a control player. I absolutely loved the way that this list played out. It did smack me pretty hard as the Mew player because Hail was able to recycle over and over again the Giacomo, putting, Palpad, Giacomo, Palpad, Giacomo. It was disgusting. I didn't have a chance, even if I Elsa sparkled to my Genesect to draw some cards and start whipping a couple of these Pokemon into shape. It was really, really tough. So as far as it goes, we do see that there are the 202 Pidgeot EX line that helps because even if Spiritomb is down, you're still able to draw cards, where Rotom by itself does not have that. And I know, being that Mew was huge in the meta as a great call into a lot of the other decks aside from Charizard, Spiritomb was definitely going to be played. So really, really cool here to adapt to the meta and play a list. I love Snorlax. We're going to talk about that in a second here. But looking through, do have the 2 Snorlax, one of the Luxray, so we can Fang Snipe. Helps us out a lot in the Charizard matchup. Obviously, we saw this on stream. Helped out a lot in that Palkia matchup for sure. We do have the Mimikyu in here to stop EXs and Vs from attacking it. The Mawile as a counter to things like Minior, because you can pair that rather with the Defiance Vest that's also in this list. And putting a Defiance Vest, if you've gone behind on the prizes, you can just Tempting Trap, and Minior can never hit you because you don't have enough retreat cost, so they just keep smacking away over and over again. Minior can retreat, unfortunately, but aside from that, it's not doing too much. So we do see only 1 Erica's Invitation and only 1 Misfortune Sisters, and I think just the recycling between Team Yell's Cheer, Silene, and the double Palpad is really what's just going to keep those in play, because there's too many other pieces that are necessary to get the engine of this deck set up, aside from something that you'd see like the regular Snorlax list we're going to cover in a second. So aside from this, I think that this is a phenomenal list. There's so many cards in it, I've got to scroll up. The 3 Stormy Mountains is hilarious, just because you're able to Fang Snipe so easily. There are 3 double turbos here. We've got the Rotom, the V-Guard Energy, all of it in the deck. So really, really cool. You can even attack with Pidgeot EX, which I think is really funny. That never came up in our matches. And then Cheryl, obviously, really cute card in this list because your Pidgeot EX might get hit for a turn, and then you're kind of scrambling because you can't just penny that up, but you can Cheryl it. So that's really cool. But yeah, I honestly, I love this list. If I was going to switch to another control list, this is definitely going to be the 60 that I would try and make adaptations to that, and just move from there. So very, very cool list by Hal. Congrats on the top 8. Now we'll move over to Nick Robinson. Did make 7th with Miraidon. Now this is a more consistent build. Did put the Spiritomb in this list. So that was kind of cheeky against those Mew players. You definitely didn't want to take the L to DTE Mew here because Judge Path is very, very scary. So putting the Spiritomb in, I do agree with. Now 2 Mew EXs, that's a little funny, but we do play the Raihan and we play the 1/1 Flaffy line. So I can see where you would do that. Now this does run Peony, but it is running a little bit less of the energy count, still running the Beach Court and the Collapse Stadium because you run both Squawk and Lumineon. I think this is a more or a better constructed list than just a standard 18 energy build. Now I would attempt to play lists like this with double Mew EX, just because you can Peony and draw some cards. You don't play any draw supporters per se, but Peony just helps you out with that turn 1 hands, and that's really what you're going for with a list like this regardless. So I do like this. The 2 Battle VIP Pass I think is fantastic in a list like this, so very, very cool to have the Battle VIP Pass in here. I am a believer. There is still 1 Nest Ball, so consistency is in here. Now that's where the other list kind of falls short for me, is the consistency, and then where do you go, you know, after your plan A doesn't work, where are your plans B and C in a deck like this. But really, really cool list. Did cut down to the 3 Miraidon. I accept that. That's totally cool. And I do like the Collapse Stadium to get your liabilities off the board as well, since you don't play anything like Turo or Penny, to help save you. The Super Rod is clutch in a list like this. I really, really love Super Rod. Please, if you're playing Miraidon, please play Super Rod. If you don't have it in your list, find a cut for it, and I really think that that's the way to go. So we're going to move on here to the next of the top 8. We're going to go through and see what made it here. Now, Daniel Hugar, friend of some of the people on the Shuffle Squad, Nerd Rage Gaming player, very, very cool Giratina list. Now, we'll talk about some of the items in here and supporters. I don't agree with a lot of the list itself. I can see your Pokemon line. I think that that's perfectly fine. Personally, I think if we're going to play Tina going forward, we really don't need 2 Spiritombs, but we definitely need something to help us. As far as the Pokemon line is concerned, we definitely are going to need some Jirachi and or some Manaphy. It's going to be pretty gross if we get anything more that's going to snipe the bench. Maybe if people do play the Greninja, there's a talk that maybe there's a Delphox V coming back around in some of these Charizard lists to help out with math. And I think that Manaphy might have to go back in, and Jirachi, because we definitely don't want to get Yoga looped in a Giratina list, especially since Rapid Strike is playing De-Evolution TM. So something you want to consider for sure. I do really, really love the Avery in this list. I'm not so sure on if I would personally play it, but I can definitely see in a meta that has a lot of decks that play not only Manaphy, but also Jirachi now, just making them choose one, so you can come in and either use Sableye, or you can come in and use Greninja in a list like this. Really, really cool. Now, if you aren't going with something that is going to focus on playing Greninja, or maybe the meta is not really good for it, then I would consider not playing Avery, because you're really just trying to get Jirachi off the board and go from there. I do think that a lot of lists are not focusing on establishing that, so that might not be a play, and we might just have to go off of there. So as far as this list goes, I'm loving the double Roxanne. The 1 boss, 2 counter catchers is okay. I would suggest testing if you are going to take this list and use it as your own, or maybe Dan, if you're watching this video, maybe suggesting what Isaiah Bradner was talking about on Twitter or X, putting the 2nd boss in, because that's what I think they got 26th place. I do definitely agree with the double boss and 1 counter catcher. Yes, it is very funny, and it is very powerful to use Roxanne, Path, counter catcher, but I really think it's situational, whereas boss will come into play a little bit more. But that's my personal opinion. And even if you didn't want to do that, I'd say even cutting a little bit of consistency here, going down to 3 Nest Ball is good. But if we look, there are only 3 Battle VIP Pass in this list. Don't agree with that at all. So again, if we're looking for it, having 4 Battle VIP passes cute. I don't know if Dan did that as a shout out to Dre on TSS as the 3 Battle VIP player, but definitely really cool. 3 path, 1 gear. I definitely think a Tina list is going to need 2 gears going forward. If you want to be consistent and want to be less mid of a deck, you're going to need more gear. I think that Thou Shall Not Miss Supporter is a good way to think about playing a Giratina list. So if we are playing Tina going forward, putting the second Pokegear back in. I know before, if you've watched a lot of my Giratina videos, I didn't believe in Pokegear, but I think in a meta like this that is hyper-focused on being the fastest deck in the room, you're going to need Pokegears. So that going forward, we saw Tord's deck. Tord was playing a lot of Pokegears, and I think that's exactly how we're going to have to start playing Giratina too. So let's hop over. Let's see what else we're doing here. Now we're going to move over to one of my favorite decks in top 8, and I was rooting for him all day. Cal and I have kind of been pinging ideas off each other for control for some time in this format. So really happy that Cal was able to take his own adapted list from some of the things that we were talking about. If you follow me on Twitter or X, you can also see that I won a challenge with a deck very similar to this. But let's break down Cal's Snorlax list here. So 5th place list, again, so playing the 4 Snorlax, 1 Rotom, 1 Pidgeot V, 1 Mimikyu, and 1 Spiritomb in this list. Now Spiritomb is something that I was on for a little bit, but then kind of pulled back on. I didn't think that we necessarily needed Spiritomb. I thought that based on the meta I was playing and the meta that I would run into, I put the Mawile in there, which we did see Hal did play the Mawile Defiance Vest, and Cal actually didn't think that that was going to be relevant. Nobody's playing Minior, and I definitely agreed with that. But did take Crabominable out. Now, Cal does not believe in Crabominable, and I am a big proponent because I have played the Mirror, and you definitely need Crab in Mirror. So if we are expecting going forward in any of the tournaments that you're playing or any of the regionals we'll be playing, the Snorlax stall is a relevant deck. And people might be teching Minior in, or, you know, you might be playing against other stall lists. You definitely want to put Crabominable back in the deck. I've even seen, I think, Chi-Yu EX was another one that we were considering just in case, because post-rotation, Crabominable is not around. So something to consider for this list. But end rant there. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I think that as far as the Pokemon line goes, we were very similar on our thoughts here. Now, going into some of the main supporters, Cal and I did differ here. We have the 4 Arven and the 3 Penny, pretty standard in any Snorlax stall. And I think that that's the way that you should be playing the supporters. We do have 3 Misfortune Sisters, but the 3 Ionos is something that I also disagree on. I think that that's your crab spot. So if we're going to put Crabominable back in the deck, I think that taking out 2 of those Ionos and just adding a water and a crab, that's where you'd want to go. Spiritomb's kind of a flex spot too if you want to put Mawile back. But Spiritomb's definitely necessary in a lot of matchups that are like Mew alone and things that are going to be playing Lumineon to get that last final boss. I think that Spiritomb's really, really good for things like that. So the 3 Ionos, not always relevant, could kind of hurt you because you want to not necessarily be playing that long of a game, but maybe I think Cal's initial thought was nobody's going to understand how to play stall the first time around because they haven't play tested or maybe didn't respect it for this event, and then we're just going to make it a really, really long game 1, and then games 2 and 3 aren't going to happen because we're just using Iono over and over again, and with the opponent unable to get out of lock because maybe they've utilized their resources at that point, Cal would just win by normal deck out. Now, I like to be a little bit faster. especially since I'm more used to playing a deck like this than best of one, putting that crab back in, which Hale also did not play any sort of milling cards aside from Sisters. So I think that that's something that is needed and has to be a consideration if you are going to consider stall for future formats, is that you want to be able to win 2 games instead of just making a real long game 1 and going from there. So I think that that's where Crabominable is going to be really good. And that's where I would swap the 2 Ionos out. But everything else looks good. The 2 boss, could be 3 boss if you want to make another cut. Giacomo, Sydney are super good in this meta. Definitely underrated cards. 1 Silene, 1 Peony, double Ericas. We've got 3 Team Yell Cheer. Now here's another switch that Cal did make down at the bottom, is the Temple of Sinnohs. I had 3 temples in my list. Cal put 2 Pokemon League headquarters, and this was like a 5-head play from Cal. I love having the headquarters in here. I did have it as a consideration for one of my temples, but Cal just went all in and put 2 of them in this list. I know that we've been playing some online events together, and Cal and I were both playing Control, and that's something that I had one of, and Cal, looked at my list and took that as a consideration. And definitely having the 2 in here was so it was like chef's kiss there. So good. So tool cards, going backwards now, we have the 1 Forest, 1 Luxurious Cape, which is good. When you have Mimikyu down in the active spot, you know that Miraidon's going to try to put Zapdos out and just try to knock you out, and this buys you an extra turn with Luxurious Cape, and then you can just try to find your penny and loop that back up. Maybe go into something with an energy on it and then retreat, or just put your Snorlax up and stall a few more turns. And I think that that's a really good card to put in this list. A lot of people were cutting Luxurious Capes before this event, and I think at least 1 in the list was really good. Now we do have the Heavy Ball here too, the Echoing Horn, the Rod, 4 Nest Balls, 4 Pokegears. You definitely want 4 Pokegears in this list, 2 Pal Pads. So the other thing I noticed is that switch cart counts were going down on a lot of lists. Don't put 1 switch cart in your list. Just don't do it. You definitely need 2. I've seen some people consider Jet Energy, as another part of the list because you want to jet something up, maybe Mawile, or jet something up and retreat it after you've pennied a turn. So that's a consideration. But obviously with the Temple of Sinnoh in play, it's not necessarily relevant. The Avery is kind of the flex spot there in this list of supporters. Avery's cute. Never really loved it. Obviously with those wide boards like your Gardevoir, I do see it come up into play. Now if Gardevoir is going to get better, Avery does have to stay on the list, because what Gardevoir is going to try to do to you is flood their board with psychic attackers, so you can never Erica, you can never Echoing Horn. Something you're going to want to consider, because you can Avery 1 turn. Chances are they're not going to be able to refill their board with 2 psychic attackers, maybe only 1. And then you're going to be able to Erica's down either a Manaphy, Greninja, or Jirachi. And that's pretty much game over if they can't find Turo, Palpad. And hopefully by that point you've milled their Palpad. So enough about Control. Awesome job, Cal, on the 5th place here. You're a hero in my book. And I loved seeing your run the whole way through, and this was an awesome TSS win. So we're going to hop back over. Let's take a look at Grant's deck. Now, Grant playing Charizard, so I'm almost positive it's the same exact 60 as the winner. Not too much time, but notable deck here is going to be Joe's deck for the Palkia Ice Rider. Now, 2 of the Ice Riders in here, so 2 of the Ice Riders really cool. The 3-2 Palkia line, that's really cool too. It seems though you don't play too many basic Pokemon search cards like the 1 of Nest Ball here, 1 of Heavy Ball. You're Battle VIP reliant to get everything set up, so I understand for sure why you're going to play those higher basic Pokemon count over your evolution Pokemon. But regardless of that, the line looks pretty streamlined, pretty close to what we saw for the other tournaments there. I think LAIC had that top placing Palkia Ice Rider list. Really, really cool list. I love it. I think that there's going to be some adaptations to Palkia Ice Rider in the future. If you are considering it, definitely start here and go off of that. I know Cyrus Davis and I have been talking a little bit about some Palkia Ice Rider just to see if there is a spot for it to be a meta deck or a tournament winning deck. But the cut here, I see there's no lost cities. There's no lost city in the list at all. There's just the one collapsed stadium, which seems really sketchy to me. And I think that this could have been a point where Lost City was good in the deck again. So understanding that Collapse Stadium is really good to get your liability off the board, whether it's Mew EX or Luminion or maybe even just a damaged Pokemon. Very cool. Is it needed? Maybe not. So we do have 4 Melanies in the list. Even if you want to leave that Collapse Stadium, maybe taking down a Melanie is good. But the turn 1 attack from Suicune V here, still really good. Ye Olden Ice Spice, as we call it. So we've got all our icy Pokemon. It's a very spicy list. Very cool. Awesome job, Joe, on this. I really love the list. I love going Counter Catcher, canceling Cologne with Greninja. Still an fantastic play in this meta. So shout out to you for making the top 4. Now, if we move in and take a look at Grant Hayes' list. Now, here's another Giratina list. Congrats to Grant for making finals for sure with a Giratina. Alta, my hero. But I will stop here. I think this list is absolutely terrible. I think that 1 gear in the list is not how we should be playing this deck. The 4 paths, probably really good. If we are going to make a cut for another gear, personally, I think that that's where the cut goes, is, you know, taking out a path for the gear so we add some consistency. Because we did see, even in finals, Grant was struggling to get the other Giratina V in play just to win that set. Would have won the whole event, I think. Now, Water Energy's back in the deck too is good. How many situations is that Greninja being used is the question you have to ask yourself. So that's kind of where I'm at on the waters. Still not a believer in just 2 waters. I think that 3 is a good number, or just don't play them at all and play something else. And then the switch items, I don't like this at all either. Escape Rope is fun, but I don't like it. I would honestly go back to another switch cart and then maybe make space for something else, because I found that playing Giratina, the clunkiness of it is you're running into too many items that you either A, don't want to use, or B, just hold you up from getting to the card that you actually need in the list. So that's where the 5 switching items overall is probably not the wave. I know that you do want to switch because you want to flower selecting enough times and Colress enough times that you get to either your 7 or your 10 number. And that's something that, you know, I feel like was a little bit of a holdback of Tina, why Tina is so mid and why it does appear clunky. And those are some of the spaces that I'm realizing now as a Tina player where the speed isn't there. We need a little bit more speed, we need a little bit more gas, and those are the places that we're going to make those cuts to get to where we need to do. Now, obviously, Charizard was huge here, and Tina most of the time wrecks Charizard. So if you hate playing against Charizard, maybe Charizard's big in your meta, Tina is the deck to do it. Tina can beat Charizard. Really, your game plan is you can go in and attack a V. They're going to knock you out with Charizard, not the next turn if you can put your V-Star in the active, but you can just swing into one of the Vs, take 2 prizes. You can V-Star into a Charizard, take 2 prizes, and then you can Gust a Pidgeot EX and just swing into that, and that's all 6 of your prizes there. So it's a pretty straightforward prize map into Charizard if the Charizard player is playing it right. Otherwise, you can hit into a second Charizard and then just clean up with Sableye and or Cramorant, and then that just wins you the game. 4 paths, probably really good in that Charizard matchup because you do have 3 Disrupt cards in here as a supporter line. I don't hate that at all. I think 3 Disruption cards is really, really good. I definitely think that, you know, maybe cutting the Iono is okay. I think that Iono is actually really good in the Snorlax matchup. So maybe leaving the Iono in there for the sake of trying to get a second gear. So if I'm making cuts to this exact list, if you want to play water, let's take out a switching card. Let's put in a Pokegear. Maybe take out the fourth path for something like a Manaphy or a Jirachi, and then just roll with it. So aside from that, like I said, currently don't like the list. I can be swayed another way. I'm not always right when it comes to these lists, but I think that I have a pretty good footing. I've gotten a lot of championship points with Giratina already this season. I play tested it time and time again, and I like I said, I'm not a fan of the list, but I'm a fan of Grant and Grant's success here. So really, really cool. Awesome job on being a finalist. And then we'll finally take a look over at the finalist list here. Azul GG making it in as the champion here. So shout outs to Azul. Awesome job making it all the way to the finals here. Again, Grant and Azul play the same exact 60. So we're going to break that down a little bit. Playing the different Charmanders. Now, some people were playing 3 different Charmanders in their list. I don't agree with that. I understand that the 60 HP Charmander has a good attack. I still don't like it. I think that Sableye is still a relevant card. Sablezard's a relevant deck. Giratina's a relevant deck. I think Azul made the right call here by leaving only 70 HP Charmanders. So having the 3-1 split, really, really good. Now, the Charmander, the 90 HP one, still okay. I don't hate that. I like the 100 HP one, but I understand that Heat Tackle is a good attack too for 2 energies, and you just go from there. You don't really have to do much else. 70 HP is a pretty relevant, or 70 is a pretty relevant number in a lot of cases, so I understand putting a single prize Pokemon into play, and that way you can swing the prize trade in your favor. Now, the 50 HP Pidgeys make me cringe a little bit, but I do also understand that because you want to go second with this deck. In a blind flip, you want to go second all the time. Call for Family is a great attack. So understand it, totally get it. 50 HPs, we'll roll with it as long as you're also not putting 60 HP Charmanders in your list. I think you're just fine. You know, we've got Rotom in this list. Rotom's super good. Michelle, Zach, and I all talked about that. Rotom was way better than we ever thought. I've been singing Rotom's praises. My Bob Thomas over here, my Bob Tom V. As far as the Lumini on the list, that's still okay. Really good in situations where maybe they Devo you and you still need that boss for game if you got Candy Zard in hand. So I definitely understand Luminion, and it's another Forest Seal Stone target. We do have Mew from Celebrations back in the list. Manaphy, Jirachi, pretty standard stuff here for Arvinzard. Then 3 Ionos, 1 Research. Really like that too. Seems super consistent, right? And that's what you want in a good deck. You want consistency. We've got Battle VIP Pass. We've got 4 Ultra Balls, 4 Candy. 2 Level Balls. Seems fine. Understand it because Charmeleon's also 90 HP, so that's where that synergy happens because you want the Level Ball to search for Charmeleon in certain situations where Pidgeot EX has got to go digging for something else that you don't have. And also helps your early game setup because you don't have anything other than Battle VIP Pass and Call for Family in turn 2 if you are going second, or turn 1 rather. And just finding those extra Pokemon. Do have the Artisan below it. Artisan here is really, really good to help consistency. So all of this is just screaming consistency to me. Now the tool cards, little sketched on it. Understand them though. 1 Forest Seal Stone seems kind of rough, but as far as that goes, you don't always need Forest Seal Stone. The rest of the deck's consistent enough. You should probably be able to set up. Forest Seal Stone is kind of just a crutch to get you there. So honestly, I think that the 1 is fine. The 1 Justifies Gloves is just OP. I think that that card is broken in this list, especially in a huge Zard mirror meta. I mean, it was what, 15 to 18%. It was really crazy. So Justified Gloves, such a good card. And Vitality Band, I know Jarek was talking about Vitality Band for weeks and weeks and weeks. People are putting Vitality Band back in. It's so good in so many different situations, especially with Stall being a relevant, you know, archetype, and Rotom being in these lists where you can just boss a Rotom and Vitality Band KO and you don't even have to have your opponent take a prize for that to happen. So good. So very niche. It also helps you a lot if Ice Rider ever does come back and they don't play Bravery Charm. Putting the Vitality Band back in is really, really good for that matchup too. The Lost City, awesome. I love Lost City in this list. I would love a second Lost City, but I also understand Collapse Stadium to get your liabilities off again, and 7 Fire Energies to round it out. Now, there is only one Super Rod, so as long as you're super conservative of what you're doing, I think that 1 Rod is just fine. But because we have Radzard in here, we're not going to double Radzard, so maybe we don't need 2 Super Rods. But that's a consideration I guess I would make for this list. But overall, I think the list is great. If you want to play Charizard, take this exact 60, roll up to your locals and see how it does. Hopefully nobody plays Fortress EX or something silly like that, but this is a super consistent list, a great way to learn Charizard if you don't know how to play it already. I would definitely start here. So congrats to everybody who made Top Cut. Made some money. I know that we have a lot of the other top 32 players that also made some money at this tournament. So shout out to everybody that played and enjoyed their time at the San Antonio Regionals. And hopefully you got a little bit of insight from me off of this and can make some changes. And we'll see you hopefully at Portland. But if not, we will catch you here on the channel. This is all I have to say here on the Shuffle Squad. We'll catch you next time.
Hey trainers, tired of having too many cards lying around? I know that feeling, and I know what a hassle it is to try and sell those cards. But selling bulk is now easier than ever with TCG Bulk. Find tons of potential buyers in a single place. You just download the app, look for the best buyer near you, and carefully pack your bulk, ship it, and you get paid. It really is that simple. Turn the cards you don't want into the cards you absolutely need for your next deck. You made it to the end. Thank you so much for watching this entire video from the Shuffle Squad. Honestly, from the bottom of our hearts, we appreciate each and every person that supports our content, watches what we have going on every single day, every single week, even from time to time, and continuously allows us to have a forum to project our creative content towards the Pokemon TCG community. So if you haven't already, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and even leave a comment to help boost the YouTube algorithm. That being said, we'll catch you with our next video. Thanks again.